Okay, and we're live.
We're live. We did it.
Yeah, guys, let us know down in the comments. Can you hear us okay? Can you see us okay? Is everything coming through all right? Did I curl my hair well enough? Because I'm feeling a little bit intimidated by Nicole tonight.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's, next time you'll get me.
Okay. I'll have to grow Jerry curls. That's all that's left for me, Nicole. There's nothing else going on up top. But
I've seen the pictures.
Awesome. So we had an amazing show tonight. It's controversial to say the least. That's not really what we're after per se, but not boring.
It just seems to be coming up this way.
Right. And the crypto tribes, it's almost like they write the show for us.
Absolutely. It's so easy. Yeah. So we have so much to talk about. And the first thing on our list is about the ongoing war within Bitcoin camps, right? And do you want to talk about a little bit about why that's going on?
Yes. So first off, there was a significant amount of Bitcoin moved earlier. It was last week, technically, and I wasn't even aware of the movement that happened today. It wasn't actually Bitcoin movement. It was a signature that happened. But last week, there were 50 Bitcoin, one full block reward from that epoch of Bitcoin, one full block reward that was moved. That was a pretty big deal, right? If I offered to send you 50 Bitcoin, that'd be a big deal, right? Life-changing.
People were really nervous about it because they were saying like, oh, this Bitcoin that is associated with Craig Wright's addresses that he gave to the court just moved the day after he turned in those addresses, and people were really nervous.
Yeah. So now follow up to today, you hit me up and you were like, hey, Seth, did you see the news about Bitcoin? And I just thought automatically, well, yeah, it was about those Bitcoin moving. Then you dropped this bomb on me like, no. There's more. Why don't I go ahead and let me share the screen from Twitter. Here's HEXicans, what they shared really fast. I'm going to do a quick screen share so everybody can see exactly what the big deal was.
Yeah. And it really was. It was a big deal.
So Zectro, he writes, someone just signed a message calling Craig Wright a fraud from 145 addresses that Craig claimed were his in the Tulip Trust. It wasn't just like one or two. It was, they went a little far out of their way to like do their research and say like, nah, man, you don't control these. So, and then they linked to a Reddit thread, which also further linked to this, a full list of the public addresses. So right here, you can see all these public addresses and all these public addresses, as well as the keys and signature right here. And the message to all 145, Craig Stephen Wright is a liar and a fraud. He doesn't have the keys used to sign this message. The Lightning Network is a significant achievement. However, we need to continue work on improving on-chain capacity. Unfortunately, the solution is not to just change a constant in the code or to allow powerful participants to force out others. We are all Satoshi.
I love it.
Mic drop. Dang.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and have you seen that there's goes on in the comments, and Calvin Ayers in there, and gosh, who else? Big Bitcoin name. Yeah. Scroll down. Look at the comments on Calvin's.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, Calvin, as usual, he tries to jump in and AstroTurf saying, as always, this will turn out to be another fraudulent attack on Craig. I'm sorry. This guy has no moral ground to stand on ever when it comes to like, clutching his pearls like everybody else is doing something wrong. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't much care for him as a character. But another fraudulent attack on Craig. I have not asked yet, but I know the private list Craig submitted that was the real list is not public, so this is automatically fiction. These addresses were the earlier possible list. Is that a good villain voice? Did I do a good Calvin Air?
I think that was a pretty good Calvin Air, yeah.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll try to throw in more Jafar from Aladdin next time.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more Jafar. That would up your game.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to go for realism here. We gotta do Calvin justice here. So scrolling down though, you mentioned Guy Coram.
Yeah. So yeah, if you read through, anybody who's really interested in this story should read through some of the comments on this thread, and particularly those comments that Calvin is involved with.
I love also this. So this screenshot right here, this is an Electrum wallet with the message that's there and one of the addresses. So this could potentially be faked. This could be doctored. There are those of us who know how to do this sort of thing. But I think maybe what he's admitting to is that he sent at least one of these. So it could have been a coordinated thing where there were a number of early Bitcoiners who just said like, hey, let's all go dump on CSW.
Well, but that doesn't make sense then why those addresses would have been on the court documents that Craig had just turned in.
Well, so this is not the first time that Craig has submitted something in a court of law that has been proven fraudulent.
Yes.
Right? Especially when it comes to lists or when it comes to email addresses or IP addresses that are associated. He's basically been convicted of email fraud, right? And tampering with email servers and timestamps before. So it's like, it's not out of character to for him to submit something like that where he just says, yeah, see all these addresses, and then just like he's spraying and praying, saying they're early addresses.
That would be a pretty big coincidence if it was a coordinated effort from, several early Bitcoiners.
That's true. That's true.
With the addresses lining up. That's all I'm saying. Not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that would be a pretty big coincidence.
Well, I think once it's submitted as evidence, though, and once the Tulip Trust list gets out, then it becomes public record. And so these Bitcoiners, they could potentially have seen it and said like, oh, wait, we'll scan through this list just so we see what he claimed. And then they see, oh, no, wait, we control lists 1 through whatever, 3,000, or in this case, 1 through 145. So why don't we all go ahead and like now, I'm not saying that it's a coordinated attack to try to like make him look bad, but just to shed light on his lie, right? On the falsehood that he was claiming that he controlled them. So that's all I meant to say with the coordinated attack.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
But maybe, I don't know.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I love it.
I'm interested.
Oh my gosh, there's so many other people who just like kept chiming in. But do you want to?
But really, this is really mostly nonsense. Like, why? So do you want to keep going on this, or do you want to move on to Ethereum?
Well, I just maybe just a couple more notable names here. Adam Back, right? Where he's trying to be pretty. I mean, he's trying to be really dispassionate about it, and he's trying to extend an olive branch here. I really appreciate Adam Back's his timbre here, like the tenor of the conversation, where he just says very respectfully, as I said before, I think you've been duped. The real list is here, and on the court webpage, it's public record, and he shows him, and then he says you can search for the first address here and verify for yourself. So, I mean, he's really being a gentleman about it when he could just say like, hey, you're being dumb. Stop being dumb.
Yeah, he is. He's having some tact.
Yeah. So maybe that's the best note to end that on. It's really easy to try to fling mud right now.
Yeah, it is. So on to Ethereum, which makes sense for us to talk about for a few reasons. We're talking about some of the news that's going on with Bitcoin, BSV, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum's way up there with those, it's the number 2 by market cap. It's also the platform that Hex is built on, and since we've got some HEXicans in our waiting room right now, it makes sense that we talk about what's going on with Ethereum, and it's so much. Okay, so as Bitcoiners continue to fight amongst themselves, they also continue to fight with Ethereans about a number of things. And one of those things is that Ethereum is now holding more Bitcoin than the Lightning Network. And maximalists seem to be pretty upset by this, saying that Ethereum doesn't actually have Bitcoin because it's TBTC, which is an ERC20 token. I don't really understand why it's different if the Bitcoin is still locked into DeFi contracts on Ethereum, but maybe you do.
Yeah, so no, to me, it is functionally no different. It's really functionally no different. If it's locked in smart contracts, and specifically if it uses public-private key encryption, then it is just as secure as it would be in any other way. And frankly, the accusations of some people who are, dyed-in-the-wool true Bitcoiners who claim that Ethereum is too centralized, public and private key encryption isn't broken. So whether or not it's a centralized or decentralized platform, if the public-private key encryption is not compromised by that air quotes centralized platform, then the smart contract is still good. It's still valid. In my mind, there's nothing fundamentally broken about having Bitcoin held that way. Now, if you had it completely controlled and backdoored, if the private keys were backdoored by an entity like JP Morgan Chase or like the IRS, then yeah, we have some cause for concern. I don't think that's the case on Ethereum. I think your Bitcoin's probably fine on Ethereum. Just me.
Just you. Okay, so continuing with the issue between Ethereum and Bitcoin is also the issue that now Bitcoin has launched an NFT, a game with an NFT token on Liquid, where usually NFTs are launched as ERC20s on Ethereum. And so now I think the narrative has changed a little bit. What was it? I've got it right here. Bitcoin, it used to say, narrative shift alert. We're going from things like NFTs are dumb and useless to Bitcoin can do things like NFTs. So what we're seeing is a shift in the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, so smart contracts, they're not new on Bitcoin per se. They're just not as widespread. They sort of fell out of vogue in the same way that NFTs and all tokens on Bitcoin, they're not particularly new. Vitalik Buterin, for anybody who doesn't know the history there, before he launched Ethereum or proposed Ethereum, he started a project called Colored Coins on Bitcoin. And the whole point was to have all different kinds of tokens that were minted on the Bitcoin network and that could be traded along the Bitcoin network. And I think there was a point at which he found that it was too difficult for him to work with the development community within Bitcoin that he said, you know what? Shine it. We're just starting. Oh my gosh, somebody's already asking if we're doing a podcast version of this show.
Oh, I can turn it into a podcast real easily. And for free.
Wish granted. Cool. We're doing it. We're doing it, guys.
Cool.
Soon enough.
Okay. Yes.
But
awesome. Okay,
yes.
So then there's also some issues between ongoing, Ethereum with Tron because of Justin Sun's survey, and you seem to be really passionate about this, so I'm going to let you tell us.
Maybe I'm a little bit too passionate about it. I mean, Nicole, I'm kind of a fan of proof of work. The channel and even the website, Mineyour.biz, it got its start talking about proof of work mining. And we still very much favor proof of work projects. And Ethereum launched with proof of stake being kind of a long-term roadmapped item. And so I'm for the most part, I'm going to root for the proof of work underdog. And with Justin Sun, they launched Tron, right, with this with proof of stake in mind. They launched it with such a ridiculous VC raise or such a ridiculous round of funding that it was like, you guys have more money than so many other projects combined. And so everything he does is always like, all right, I'm going to throw money at this problem without necessarily adding value. And he does this poll on Twitter where it's like, it's typical Justin Sun, where he does that again. It's like, we haven't improved the code. We haven't improved the product. Really, I'm just going to throw money at a problem. Let me see if I can pull up the tweet, though. Did you see his poll?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right, so I retweeted it, and sorry, guys, I did not have this one pulled up. Today was a busy day, busy weekend. Let us know in the comments section, by the way. How's your Memorial Day going? Not to be disrespectful.
Okay, so the last week, while you look for that, I'm going to go over just another, point, maybe a point for Tron, which is that the ETH 2.0 launch is delayed again, at least until Q3 of this year and possibly into 2021.
Yeah, I think those of us who are in the crypto mining scene, it's kind of tough. Like we've come to take those claims with a grain of salt. When it's like ETH 2.0, it's coming. It'll be proof of stake before you know it. And we've all said, yeah, whatever. Take your time. We'll keep mining it. We like having a block reward that goes to people who run a miner at home or in a warehouse. So we're a little biased. But you're right. Having those kinds of the prolonged delays, it's a bit of a bummer for people who've been long-term stakeholders, definitely for people who bought in at the ICO clear back in 2014. They've been waiting for what in crypto terms feels like forever.
Yeah, but if you got into ETH at the ICO, I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what are you complaining about?
You're fine. Shut up. Yeah.
So this
right,
is...
So do we have our HEXicans in the waiting room?
I don't see them here. They haven't logged in yet.
Okay. Where are you?
Audience, if you see wild HEXicans out in the waiting room, tell them that they're wanted in the chat. And okay, we do have a comment here from the comment section. Nemesis, thank you so much for bringing up a great point about Ethereum. And I'm going to bring something right back to our audience when I read this. He says, ETH is just a platform for scams to start on and exit. Once all the scams left ETH, you all watched the price take an elevator down. They will struggle to rise again, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you say about that, Nicole?
I don't know. I mean, didn't the price of the ETH go down because of so many ICOs cashing out at, such a high? I mean, I don't know why they would struggle to recover now with, some changes having been made. I mean, I'm not sure. It's not that I'm definitely a little bit biased.
Okay. Biased on which side? In which way?
Towards Ethereum.
Okay. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely see what Nemesis is saying about a lot of scam tokens and scam ICOs launching on the platform. ETH was launched.
But because it's supposed to be, as decentralized as it could be, you can't really stop a scammer from building on your network, can you?
Right. Which is kind of funny because you can't really have it both ways either. When Bitcoiners say, or when Bitcoin maximalists say that Ethereum is too centralized, but then you see all these projects launching on it because it's decentralized enough, nobody can tell them no, right? They can just launch. They don't need permission.
Mm-hmm.
So which one is it? Is it too centralized, or is it not centralized enough to stop all these scams?
Yeah, right. And I mean, that's a thing. There's tons of hypocrisy everywhere in the world, and cryptocurrency is no different. There's just it's a lot, the amount and the little recognition of it that we've seen, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a bit biased towards ETH. That said, I do have a soft place in my heart for Ethereum Classic. I think the Ethereum Classic, the cooperative that puts that together, mm-hmm. Michael brings up a great point in the chat. Tron was once an ERC20.
Yeah, so was EOS. And from, what? I really want to know what's going on with our HEXicans because I have lots of questions for them.
Oh, they'll get here. They'll get here soon enough. I think we could stay on this one topic of just Bitcoin versus Ethereum for a while. Though it's very clear, Nicole, that you and we hold the bias against bias, actually, I think, where it's like, hey, stop complaining so much. There's room for all these different forks and projects.
Right, yeah, which is, I guess, an anti-maximalist bias, which puts both of us more firmly in the Ethereum camp than because of the anti-maximalism kind of, position. Yeah. Not that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So Nemesis brings up a good point also with the DAI hack that Ethereum is not decentralized enough because of the DAI hack. So yeah, that's totally valid. And I guess I had some cause for concern when I saw that the Amazon Web Services dashboard allowed for quick tie-ins to the Ethereum virtual machine. Anytime you see a tech juggernaut like Amazon saying, sure, we'll shake hands with this blockchain project, it does bring up some questions, I think.
Sure, same thing with Microsoft. Various companies being involved with the EEA were definitely kind of alarming, for sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah. That said, though, the DIA hack did not destroy every other token. Every other token that was launched on Ethereum continued to work. So you've got Basic Attention Token. You've got so many others that are launching, running, and successfully operating. They're using their tokens issued on Ethereum as just a simple unit of account for whatever their program is. So you can run code independently that still lets out a little bit of your token. You don't have to run everything on Ethereum. You can just have the token. So I don't know. I mean, it's a complex thing. And the more complex you make a given ecosystem and rewards ecosystem, kind of the less you need to worry about just about having it all decentralized. It actually becomes a problem having it all decentralized.
Yeah. Hey, can you talk for 5 minutes 2 minutes while I go get my computer charger? Because I didn't realize how low I was. And
can I talk for 2 minutes?
Yeah, can you? Yeah. And I'll run.
Yeah. Does Richard Hart like talking about Hex? The answer is yes. All right. So, hey, the Deadwood, thanks so much for saying hello in the comment section there. Let me go ahead and bring this a little bit bigger so I can see all your lovely faces. You can see a little bit more of my beard. I trimmed it back a little bit. Always something I regret, but you know, you got to do it every now and then. Stay nice and groomed. Otherwise, your wife says we're not doing date night until you make yourself look less like Chewbacca. So thanks so much for tuning in. Nemesis says there are good things on ETH. You just don't have faith in ETH. Now ETC devs I can stand behind. Bro, I am with you. I've got that soft place in my heart for the ETC cooperative. There's some really great people working on Ethereum Classic. There's a reason that project has endured. And I think in part it's because they've really pressed to keep their ecosystem more decentralized. So, and I don't know. I'm going to argue both sides, guys. That's the thing. Try to kind of keep a speech and debate vibe going here, where I argue both sides just a little bit, so we can get some counterpoint and try to understand a little better. I think there's room for both. I think there's room for Ethereum having maybe a slightly less decentralized. I'm not going to call it centralized per se, but a slightly less decentralized structure and allowing for a little bit more control. And let me go ahead and okay, Nicole, you're muted for just a second. You can go ahead and unmute yourself after you get everything situated. And then with Ethereum Classic, having things be a much more decentralized approach. There are projects that occasionally will decentralize all leadership, and they attempt to decentralize voting and governance. And what they wind up doing is setting up a tyranny of the stakeholders. So you wind up finding people who just got in early, right? And they bought whatever. They bought tokens early, or they somehow bought in early, and so they wind up having a controlling stake over voting and any kind of new initiatives that go into a platform. That's not necessarily decentralized either, guys. There are so many ways that a project becomes re-centralized and back under the control of just a few stakeholders. So, all right. So, hey. Nicole, yeah, seems legit. Whatever.
Yeah. No, okay, now I have notes. All right, so we still don't have the HEXicans here, but we were going to wait I don't know, what are we going to talk about now? They don't show up.
Yeah, so I got a couple comments here. Michael says, Seth, your hat looks grubby. Need to hit up Fluffy for a Atari hat when you get him on. Bro, you're on. Here's the thing. For my part, and I can't speak for Nicole, but for my part, when it comes to a really nice hat, get me a good snapback or maybe like a flex fit. If it's a nice hat, man, I'll take a hat from any project as long as it's a nice gift and they're not trying to sway my opinion, and I'll wear it on stream. I don't have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. But I've got a bald noggin to cover. So
wear this kind of stuff on screen, because then you can go and buy it in our store.
Oh snap! You guys saw the link in the comment section, right? Let me go ahead and drop that in the live comment section one more time. Nicole she's actually wearing one of almost a dozen designs in the merch store that are Nerd Girl exclusives. So,
yep. And this one says Satoshi for President 2020.
Guys, a couple things just to note there on the Mineyour.biz merch store. First off, we accept over 24 cryptos with 0 fee split. It's non-custodial. So Coinbase, BitPay, JP Morgan Chase, none of Gemini, none of the usual suspects that would normally be doing chain analysis to figure out where your crypto goes know that you've bought something from our store. And in the case of Nerd Girl Designs, if it's got the Nerd Girl tag on it, guess who gets 100% of the profits?
Me.
That girl. So be generous. Go get some cool Satoshi for president.
Really cool shirts. You would wear them. They're they're, I don't know, what's the, not normal. They're discreet or not discreet. What's the right word? I don't know.
Well, yeah, they are discreet. It's they're incognito. People would walk down the street and be like, it's whatever. It's another political shirt.
No,
they do a double take.
Avoid you because you're wearing a Bitcoin shirt. They're more discreet than that.
Yeah. And somebody would have to be in a conversation, be oh, Satoshi? Who's Satoshi? Will they be on the ballot?
Yeah.
No, it's Ron Paul. You'll have to write him in.
Yeah. It's just a vote of no confidence.
Well, for decades, Mickey Mouse has won every election by the popular vote. So Why not Satoshi?
Why not? I don't see why not.
So Deadwood says, I wish I had the ability to use blockchain for auto parts sourcing. It's an idea I've had for a while that would help so many layers. Dude, that's so true. Supply chain management, there's a lot of promise within blockchain. It doesn't cover things like theft, though, or shrink once things get into retail or even into wholesale warehouse supply. So it's a brilliant idea. If you know some good projects that are focused on supply chain management, send them our way. We'd love to talk to them.
Yeah, I love the supply chain with blockchain. Okay, so I sent him the links and I've got no response. Maybe I should tweet at him to let him know. Has anyone please?
So, hey, anybody who's in the live stream chat right now, go ahead and who is the member of the Hex community that we're having on to do our Q&A tonight, Nicole?
We have two members of the community. We have RG33304, whatever. Him, and then we also have someone who is not active on Twitter, but does have an active show, and his name is The Crypto Coffee.
The Crypto Coffee.
The Crypto Coffee, yes.
Okay. All right. They're getting named and shamed. Well, shamed into submission on Twitter right now, guys. Go ahead and when you see our tweets, go ahead and retweet them. Let's shout them onto the show. We want them here. We don't want to chase them away. We just want to have a friendly conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We want them here for sure. Sorry, weird things going on in my basement.
Yeah. Ghost vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I have a lot of people who are HEXicans following me. So hopefully you guys can help us out. We've been looking forward to this all week. Don't make me cry.
So, guys, questions about Ethereum Classic versus Ethereum. If you could get wrapped BTC, if you could get Bitcoin that was tokenized on Ethereum Classic, would you trust that more than Bitcoin that's tokenized on Ethereum? If so, why or why not? Tell us down in the comments section. We want to hear from you.
That's awesome. That's a great question. Yeah.
We've got some ETC supporters. What's this? Yankee in the comments section. Thank you, sir. Coming in from the beautiful land of North Carolina. Good to see you there. And we've got... Yeah, hey, Michael says supply chain coin and also VET is already doing car parts for BMW.
Interesting.
Okay, thank you for the heads up there. The thing about cryptocurrency is that there's so many projects to track. I don't know how guys like Omar Bam, how they keep all their projects straight in their head.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. And then something can be doing really well, 1 month, and then that can absolutely change the next. So unless you're hyper-focused on it, yeah.
Yeah, Walton Chain was the next supply chain thing, and it totally took a dump in the stacked rankings.
What about VeChain? Isn't that kind of like the top supply chain? No?
Yes, and I want to say that VET is the ticker symbol. Is that correct, guys? Tell us down in the comments. I believe that's I believe that's what VET is.
Okay.
Yankee comments, I didn't know that ETC still had an active development group. Yes, it does, actually. It does. It's a weird cooperative though, and I want to say that it's IOHK that has that kind of toned down their involvement, which is normally a bad sign, right? Because they have a lot of VC money involved in the various projects that they touch. So normally IOHK saying hey, we're here to bless your project is it's everything you want in blockchain development. But no, ETC is still moving, and been trying to get Bob Somerville, who is a very visible member of the ETC community and development community, on the show for some time. So if you guys want to hit up Bob Somerville and say, hey, you should go talk to Nicole and Seth.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, please do that. So actually, since we're talking about IOHK, and supply chain, it makes sense to note that there is some supply chain built into Cardano, and they've been working with New Balance. So that's like a retail level, but I don't know if the plan is to continue to build out their supply chain product or not.
So Cardano plus sneaker flipping, is this what I'm hearing? We've got an opportunity to do a dApp that does automated sneaker flipping for you?
I mean, that would be cool. That's not what I heard, but I get it now that I hear you say it.
I'm pretty sure that was your... You can't con me, Miss Nicole. I'm pretty sure that was your game the whole time. She's like, all right, we need free developers to get my sneaker flipping arbitrage business.
That would be great. Actually, you know what? I don't think it would be because, I don't know. Maybe if it was like a really popular shoe.
Well, I've looked up some of those sneaker flips on StockX, for example, just out of curiosity. And you would be blown away at some of the models that New Balance has out there that are like $700, $800 shoes.
Yeah, because like serious runners often wear New Balance. And then like also if you have a wider toe box, you want to wear New Balance shoes.
You guys heard it here first. Mineyour.biz Monday show. Wider toe box, get New Balance, write a dApp on Cardano that flips them for you automatically.
I don't know if it will do that. I mean, like now it sounds like you're making false promises.
Well, I mean, we're not asking for investments. So I can say whatever the heck I want.
False promises?
Yeah. Seth is a scam. Confirmed. All right. Done. Nemesis is saying Bob is hard to get to talk to. Busy man. Hey, totally get it. He and I have had a couple words in passing, and they've been privately in confidence and about some pretty serious stuff. So I get it. He's a serious character. However, it'd still be great to ask him serious questions on the show like this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we have some pretty serious questions for the Hex community.
Well, let's go ahead and collect some more serious questions for when the Hex community gets here. Guys, Nicole and I were talking about taking your bets.
Yeah.
I almost can't do it with a straight face. We wanted to take your bets as to who would win in a knife fight. CSW or Roger Ver. Tell us down in the comment section. You guys have 30 seconds to tell us who your bet is for. Is it CSW? Is it Roger Ver in a knife fight? And we're talking about not talking about big boy knives. We're talking about just something just small and handy, a little battle song, little switchblade or something. Yeah. Fixed blade, Navy SEAL style, whatever. So who's going to win in that knife fight? Tell us. Clock is ticking, guys. 20 seconds left. But tell us right away. And while you're doing that, after you've given your vote, go ahead and give this video the thumbs up and be sure to share it while you're waiting for the other votes to come in. But we need to know. This is important stuff. Promise this will come in handy later on. We need your opinion on this, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But while they're doing that, Nicole, what did you do for Memorial Day today? Was it a relaxing weekend?
Yeah, kind of. I just was reading a lot.
Okay.
Cool.
Reading. That's awesome.
How about you?
I braved the I braved the memorial events. I went out to see my dad's tombstone. He's been gone for many years now, so this isn't anything fresh. Hey, here we go. So I went and did the thing. Placed some flowers on some gravestones that didn't have any because we had enough for my dad's site and a few other people. So we just, we shared the love. And and then spent a little bit of time with my little brother.
Nice. That's fun. Family time.
It was
good for you.
So we've got somebody new in the chat, and what they need to know is that if they don't allow for a privacy browser like Firefox, which has autoplay blocked by default, or Brave that has autoplay of media blocked by default, if they don't turn that off and then refresh the page, we're not going to see them. So.
Okay. So we need to turn it off and refresh the page?
Yes.
Okay. So, I see, yeah, I do see him.
There we go.
So, yeah. Do you see him?
I do. I see a lovely face.
Hey, guys.
We got Coffee and RG3. There they are. Oh, my gosh.
Can you guys see me?
We see you. Can you hear us back?
Can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you guys and see. Where are you, Nerd Girl?
I'm in my
Nicole.
basement.
You're in the basement.
Yeah, this is a basement crypto show, underground.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Right on. Well, thanks for having us. Good to be here, guys.
Yeah, guys, it means so much that you can make time to do this. We know it's Memorial Monday. It's a long weekend, and and everyone's got family time and special events going on. So thank you for being game.
Hey, right on, man.
Super appreciate it. So I don't even really know where you want to start, but because I've got to have a conversation with them more recently than you, I feel like you get to ask the first question.
I do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you not ready? Because if you're not ready, I can do it.
This is funny. First off, there's a comment. You guys are going to love this. You'll be tickled by this. There's somebody in the comment section says, the Hex army is coming. And then somebody else goes, Brennan, stop. We're not, this isn't XRP, you idiots. So
yeah, no, and I'm a Marine, not Army, so that's
yeah, no, there you go. Even
that you bring up XRP, because there has been some like communication between Hex and XRP today, and I don't know exactly what it was about, but so
we have little Twitter battles out there all the time with everybody, you know.
It's like all the Hex was like, well, we welcome the XRP army to Hex, and then someone said that we don't have Hex Nation yet, but it's coming, and that was a concern for me.
I don't even know what that comment means or where that came from. I never even see anything like that.
I think it means that you guys are going to turn into a group of maximalists.
I am not a crypto max at anything.
All right,
just to let you know.
That's great to hear, because I think we're gonna have guys. I get the sense we're gonna have like a very real talk here. Deadwood,
I think so too.
Deadwood is saluting you. He's throwing you a Semper Fi, and
Semper Fi, brother, Semper Fi.
So definitely appreciate that, guys. The XRP army, just like any other army, you know, grunts need heroes too. That's why we have the Marines. So yeah, somebody out there is they're feeling me twist that knife just a little bit. And, yeah.
So, okay, did anybody answer our question about the knife fight, or was that just like no interest?
They didn't. We got crickets, guys. We need to hear it one more time because
no, I don't think that they care. I think that that's the thing. They don't care.
It totally is. They've been watching my show for too long. They're like, Seth, be serious, man. It's like we flip between. So, guys, either I'll interview devs directly, and I'll be asking them design and architecture questions about various different coin projects and code bases. To then we'll talk about like the wackiest stuff. So we're going to ask you guys, first thing out of the gate, we need to know. This is need to know info.
Oh boy.
Who would win in a knife fight? CSW or Roger Ver? And why?
I'm just trying to think of that happening right now.
Oh, hey, is this RG that's muted?
Maybe. Am I muted?
No, I'm sorry. It's Crypto Coffee. Buddy, you're muted. It's not on our end. We got you unmuted.
There you go. How about now?
Yes.
Cool.
You're coming in.
Had the wrong input. So you couldn't hear anything I was saying? Oh, that's a bummer.
I was like, man,
no, I thought you were just being silent, bro.
Oh, no. I'm here now.
I was like, he's really expressive with the eyes, but there's this.
Yeah. So who would win? Oh my God. I mean, what a hilarious fight that would be. I know Roger Ver is kind of like a Muay Thai guy, right? He's into jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. So Craig Wright has a lot of degrees, but that doesn't really help you when you're fighting.
There's got to be a degree somewhere there in self-defense. It would help you in a chalkboard fight.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he plagiarized one, but I don't know.
I'm sorry. Both of those guys remind me of the kid that got beat up on your block all the time. That's all I can say about the two of them. So I couldn't imagine the two of them in a fight together.
Yeah, right. Only Roger Ver was the kid that got punched, and then after he got punched, swung wild and said, "Ki!" He was that kid, right? He's like, he had the training, but he just didn't know what to use it.
Right?
Yeah.
Seth, we want Roger to come on the show.
No, I like Roger. I
like Roger too. We have a mutual friend, and I've heard good things about Roger, and I don't have anything ill to say about Roger. You know, the other guy.
I had a positive conversation with him, so I have nothing.
Nicole's like, Seth already threw our chances out the window, so
Damn it,
GFY. GFY, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, Roger just back in 2017 when he got in that fight with Richard, it was like he just came across as such a punk. He just really looked like a punk, and I know that's not really him, but he really just didn't do himself any good on that one.
Yeah, agreed. He spent a lot of the time since then doing a bit of damage control and then rebuilding the brand that he'd been working on since 2011, being that ambassador for blockchain in general.
Yeah, they blew that whole thing. I mean, that's a whole conversation right there. What they did with that.
Yeah. So, hey, to walk back my comment a little bit about him being the kid that gets hit and then swings. Again, I'm with you. I've seen Roger rep some of the MMA events and some other stuff in Japan. And again, there's nobody who runs a street team like Roger in the blockchain space. Not quite like him.
He's a good marketer.
And he's done so much for blockchain in general and Bitcoin in general that we just wouldn't be here today talking about this stuff the way we are if he hadn't been involved early on. So kudos to him.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Everyone's doing what they think is the right way to do it. So he's speaking his truth and preaching his narrative, and whether or not you agree, he's probably done a lot more than me.
Yeah, and he wanted to improve Bitcoin, and Bitcoin needed to be improved.
It still does.
I'm sorry, it still does. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, the work is far from done. Far from done.
Let's move on.
Nicole's like, are you guys done stroking each other's egos yet? Because it's my turn.
Can we just all be friends?
Well, I think. Well, that's
the next topic of conversation.
Well, that's what we got to start at Nicole. We've got to have consensus here of the things that we agree upon, because we're all in crypto for a reason, And I think that those are the things that first we need to, have consensus with, that we all agree that there are certain things about crypto that we all believe in, or that we all came here for, and then we've got to look at where crypto is at and how all of that fits in our conversations.
So for me, it doesn't even mean that we all have to have a common ground, because in a large enough group of people, there's always going to be one or two outliers. But what matters is that, like, we can recognize that even if I don't think that the project that you most strongly identify with is the best investment, or best place that I want to put my money, that's no reason why we can't talk to each other like we're friends, because you're a person and I'm a person, and like just being just your crypto, that seems a little bit sick.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about crypto in general. I'm not even talking about our coin, their coin, the tribalism crap that goes on there. I think that we all need to really take a good look at crypto, because I'm disappointed with the whole thing, to be honest with you. We've been at this for 10 years and we don't have it yet. What are the answers? How do we get there? And how do we stop losing people's money? How do we look, if you look at PayPal, WeChat, WhatsApp, AirPlay, they're killing crypto. All those payment methods are killing crypto. Cryptocurrency was supposed to be money, supposed to be digital money, was supposed to replace all of those things. And they're kicking crypto's ass. So what is crypto doing? We're all infighting with each other, and really nothing's happening to crypto to advance it, in my opinion.
Okay. I think on that, I largely agree in that in the last 10 years, we've taken many strides forward and then jumped backwards, right? It's been a bit of a tango. We've gone forward several steps, gone back almost an equal number of steps. Thankfully, we've still gained some ground, but price action isn't everything, right? Like that sawtooth pattern it's a function of time, right? So stuff just builds value over time. These markets, they'll all build value over time. Even some projects that many would agree either have a very checkered past or have just limited utility. Projects like Bitcoin that haven't been developed nearly as much as their derivative projects like Monero, just to use one example. Got the hat, so why not? But Bitcoin, the code base hasn't been hardly adjusted at all, and it came to light that the original founding team had an 80% pre-mine built into the Genesis block, hard-coded into the Genesis block. So even after all that, they still are sitting pretty with a $40+ million market cap and they're in the top 100. So here we are 10 years later, right? After all these privacy mechanisms have been invented, after so many new coins have been forked, after so many new clones and brand new blockchains such as Ethereum have launched. And yeah, to your point, Wikipedia, they accepted Bitcoin and then they stopped.
Yeah.
And then all these
Less
other
people
projects.
accept them now.
Yeah, right. Like so many online retailers where we should have had crypto payments and we should have just continued to grow with that market cap and that, you know, the new wallets being generated, wallet addresses being generated. We should have seen mass adoption far better than now.
But
Just
spending
like how,
crypto sucks.
Yeah.
Spending
The
crypto
onboarding
sucks.
experience is terrible. You know, people don't want to buy it if the US dollar works just fine. Not a lot of people in first world countries are experiencing the censorship resistance that crypto is meant to route around. However, we've tried all these things out. Like you said, we tried privacy coins, we tried forking Bitcoin a million times. Everyone's got their own take on what is going to get mass adoption. And Hex is trying something that I've never seen before in all of crypto. And the coin itself is based around an idea that mass adoption comes from the price going up. People only want to buy any of this shit if they think the price is going to go up. Because the number one use case right now, unfortunate as it may be, is speculation. Right? If we're being totally realistic, you don't get utility until everybody owns a little piece of the pie. And no one's going to want to own it if they don't think there's any potential for the price to go up. So that's where Hex is a little bit different. It's a little bit of a different take on what's going to get us mass adoption, but I think we all want the same things. We all want crypto in the hands of everybody in the world.
Okay, so that's great, and I appreciate that you bring it there. So for my part, I haven't interviewed anybody with regards to Hex, and when I've reached out to Richard in the past, it's always been to ask him about SciVive. That's what I'm a little more interested in is his previous work, just because, like so many other projects that I have interviewed that have a far greater market cap, I think that some of the previous work and some of the background, right, the pedigree of the team, it can be a key indicator as to whether or not there's a real future for a project. Sometimes it's not always about the scope of the project or the roadmap or even the code itself. Sometimes that just doesn't stand up under scrutiny when you weigh it against the possibility of leadership not being steady, right? As not being a fixed point and being true leaders. So I appreciate you bringing up what the intent of Hex is. What I'm curious to know is, how does Hex reward people who are late to the party? Because Bitcoin, we've now got a 10-year history. People who bought in at Bitcoin in 2010 when it was extremely hard to use and who've been holding on to their keys, like you were saying before, RG, it's been difficult, right? Password management, key management, utilization, just in terms of like dusting somebody a few Satoshis as opposed to like sending whole Bitcoins. And it's been getting harder and harder as the network gets more clogged up, right? But still, people who bought in 2010, they're Bitcoin millionaires and Bitcoin billionaires. We know this, right? And so we know that being early to Bitcoin was awesome. Being early to Ethereum was awesome. Being early on any number of these projects was awesome. How does Hex solve that problem for somebody who joins into the Hex party 5 years from now?
Well, I mean, first of all, we've got to look at, there's a certain amount of people, like you said, that got into Bitcoin early and became very, very wealthy. That's a handful, because the real winners are the exchanges. The real winners are the people that are mining. And those people that have the massive mining farms, and mostly in China, the people that have won because they've built these exchanges. And by the way, everybody out there, just to let you know, not your keys, not your crypto. If you put your money on an exchange, you have given up the right to own your cryptocurrency. You got into crypto to get rid of counterparties. And what you've done, what's that?
I don't know, Seth, isn't most of your audience pretty like advanced? Like they know the dangers of holding coins.
But what I'm trying, the point I'm trying to make is that we're giving up our rights to own our crypto, and cryptocurrency is not what we wanted it to be. We're starting to do things like give up our keys. We cannot use it like money because it's too cumbersome. So all these things that we want it to be don't exist. Now, how does Hex solve that is where I'm getting to. So Hex takes a product that exists out there in the world today, which is a CD, a certificate of deposit. And since you don't have to do anything but mint your coins, put them on, stake them, and then unstake them when they become mature, you're really not needing to use cryptocurrency as a medium of exchange. You're using it as a medium of you're staking it. So, yeah. So I mean, that's where Hex changes things. If you really look at Hex, and I'm not even looking at the value of Hex right now, I'm just looking at Hex itself. Hex itself is coded to grow. It has built-in trustless interest built into the contract. So when you mint your own Hex, you put it in and you stake it, your Hex is growing. Period. End of story. Now, I can't tell you what the price of Hex is going to be and whether you're going to have more value, but you are going to have more Hex because of how the contract is designed. That's what a cryptocurrency can do today and show that it has utility.
But what good is that if the cryptocurrency, if you know, presumably the value of the cryptocurrency goes up as well, so that accumulating more Hex does mean accumulating more whatever you're wanting to transact in. But what I mean, I realize that's a threat with other. I mean, that's always a threat when you invest your money somewhere. But like, why is it that you think that the value of Hex will increase so that will continue to be a good thing? Because it doesn't matter if you get 3 times the amount of money if that won't buy you the same,
So we all think that Bitcoin is, the king of crypto. So 94%, 95%, 81%, 86%. Those are all the drops that Bitcoin made in its lifetime. Those are the drops. So any crypto can do that. So if we're in cryptocurrency, we got to be real to ourselves. That's what cryptocurrency is. Period. End of story. So to sit here and say, well, Hex can drop to 0. Hex can drop 90%. Hex can drop 80%. What makes you so sure that you're going to make any money off it? That's all of crypto, guys. We've got to be realistic here. Cryptocurrencies do that.
I'm not criticizing Hex.
No, but I'm trying to explain to you that Hex has a utility, and that utility is to grow interest. Period. End of story. It's immutable. It's in the contract, and you can't change it. You can't turn it off. You can't turn it on. You can't change the code. It's there. It's the only cryptocurrency. And the reason that we're all so passionate about it is because us people that have been in crypto for so long, when we finally saw something that was done, look, I've been in ICOs. I've been wrecked by them. I've seen people promise me all kinds of things that they were going to do, that, oh, this coin was going to do this bitchin' thing, and this was going to do this bitchin' thing. And nothing has ever materialized until I found Hex. When I saw Hex, I saw that the code was complete, that it was there. You can see it. It's done. It was turned on, and it can't be turned off. The exchange that it operates on, which is Uniswap, is a decentralized exchange. You do not have to worry about counterparty risk with that exchange. So Hex and Uniswap working together is going to change cryptocurrency. And I know it's going to take people a little while to understand it. And you're going to have to talk to people like us who have watched hours and hours and hours of information on how this really works and how our interest rates work and all those things. And this is the beginning. This is people starting to understand from other people other than Richard, and from other people other than, yelling at Richard at the top of their lungs that he's a scammer and all this other crap. So having
Pete McCormick, I think, has made himself unwelcome at a lot of other outlets. He did not behave very well.
Well,
that wasn't even the only one.
And that's what gets us all on edge, because we've been dealing with that for the last 8 months, a year. And it wears on you. I don't know how Richard does it. He gets on every stream. I mean, just yesterday, somebody got on stream with him and started bashing him, and tried to dox him, tried to pull up his screen on his computer. I mean, just weird stuff. These people have just been so brutal to a project that is actually trying to stop the scams. That is actually the first crypto, if you look at it, that's done. It's completed. It's a completed project.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so
I think that's important, like, just across cryptocurrencies, where, like, I've been making these like anti-tribalist statements, but like those are human beings that you're yelling and screaming at and calling names. Like,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's one thing
Please
it's one thing when it's a
grow up
Twitter
a little
response
bit.
and it could be a bot. It's an entirely different thing when you're on a live stream with a person that you're probably going to see at a trade show.
Yeah.
Like, I'd way
Yeah.
rather these two dudes. I'd way rather see
Yeah.
them at a trade show and be welcome to go have a drink with them and just sit with them
Yeah.
and chat.
Yeah,
You know?
even
Yeah.
if you didn't
And
have
maybe it's
a-
quarantine, got everyone all riled up. I don't know.
I guess.
I don't know.
And
I mean,
and
maybe
you know
it's
what?
like
I've
we're on
seen
the screen. Go
some
ahead.
of Peter's stuff before, and I always thought he was a cool cat. I thought he was a cool dude.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I didn't think that he was there was anything. And then I saw him on the stream, and I was just, wow, where is that coming from? You know, it was just it's just odd, the tribalism that's going on out there, and unfortunately, it's made all of us jaded because we believe in what we're involved in, and we're trying to explain to everybody what Hex really is and what it can mean to crypto. Look, I'm not saying it's the end all be all. I'm not even saying that crypto is the end all be all. But if you are in crypto and you do believe in Satoshi's vision and what we were trying to do here, then you should take a real look at Hex and see exactly what it's doing in the crypto space. You really would be amazed.
So
Tons
that's
of questions. Yeah.
yeah.
So
We have some.
Go
Yeah,
for
we've
it.
got some questions coming in, and I've got at least one that I'm very, very curious to have the answer to, and I'm wondering if we can just circle back to it.
Sure.
How does Hex reward people who are late to the party?
Okay, yeah, you asked that before.
Right.
So look, it's very early. I don't know. We have modeled. Hex has modeled the EOS launch phase. So we're going over a year. There is what we call the AA lobby, where you enter into where you can get your coins, right? So that's where there's a pool of ETH and there's a pool of Hex. And that pool of Hex, based upon how much ETH goes in there, gets divvied out to everybody every day. So at that point, you mint your Hex. So you mint your own coins. You don't buy coins. Now you can go on an exchange, you can go on Uniswap, and you can buy coins, right?
So is there like a zero knowledge? Is there like a zero knowledge proof that's used for that? Is there a cryptographic system in which you actually burn something other than ETH in order to mint a coin?
No. It takes ETH to do so. When you do that, then you are issued your amount of coins, and at that point, you mint them. When you mint those coins, they exist. You've brought them into existence by your work. Now, using the contract, you can stake your coins, or you can just walk over to the exchange and sell your coins. Hex is liquid. Hex is not something that you have to. A lot of people's misinterpretation of Hex is that you have to stake the coins before you can actually spend them. And that's not the case. As soon as you mint your coins, they're your coins. You can do what you want with them. You can give them away. You can burn them. You can put them on an exchange. You can trade them. You can do whatever you want. They're just as spendable as any other coin out there. So what? Again, back to your question. What late to the party? So there is no late to the party because we're still in the 1 year phase here. It's still launch phase. The gains are. You can look at the chart and see our gains. I mean, they've been phenomenal. We did take a 56% dip here just recently, but it's climbing back up again.
It looks like you guys had a really sharp spike. I'm just looking at the 24-hour. It looks like you had a really sharp spike. Is that just is that a function of the smart contract issuing new Hex into the system?
No. No, those are whales.
That's just trading. People, when coins are early in their infancy, and there's, Hex does have a lot of liquidity for a very relatively new token that's only 5 months old. It's got, what is it, RG3, like $15 million of liquid volume or liquidity on Uniswap. And so you can buy or sell into that all you want. But in the early days of coins, you're going to get way higher spikes up and down just because it takes so much less economic energy to move the price up or down. So you should definitely be prepared for that. I mean, if you're in crypto in general, you're probably used to seeing some volatility. I mean, Bitcoin dropped 50% in February.
Oh, yeah.
So you should
for weak
be
hands
ready.
here.
Right,
No,
exactly.
Or weak hearts. You get,
Right.
yeah.
But I guess my viewpoint on, is it too early? Like RG3 said, it's launch phase, right? So we got a whole year of this, and then the whole future of Hex has not even started yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, what were you too early on Bitcoin when Bitcoin was $30 and then went all the way back down to $1? I mean, you might have felt like it. Or you might have felt like you were too late at that point. But when you zoom out on the longer term time scale, I mean, you realize that this is month 5, month 6. So no, I don't think it's too early at all. But
so I'm on uniswap.exchange, and I'm not seeing Hex come up. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen so you guys can see it.
You
thing.
won't get it to come up, because what you have to do is actually put you have to go to Etherscan and pull the contract address up to put it in.
Okay, so this is not going to work then.
They don't put all the coins on there, even though we are the #1 moving coin on Uniswap.
Yeah, #1 volume, or #2 or 3 compared to maybe Tether.
Tether, #1 actually.
Got
no,
it.
you.
But
Okay,
so we're traded a lot on Uniswap.exchange. However, you have to copy and paste the smart contract address into the bar right there. But if you go to HEXicans.win,
So this is a point where there's tons of controversy with you guys, though. Isn't it the Uniswap address that for more than 45% of the hex is controlled, and maybe that doesn't belong to Richard Hart, but most likely it does. And what will happen?
Let me walk that back. You said the Uniswap what now?
Isn't it on the Uniswap exchange, or is that something else?
No, that's something completely different, Nicole. The Uniswap exchange has absolutely nothing to do with Hex.
Okay.
It is a DeFi exchange, and it allows you to trade any ERC token. So you can trade ERC20 tokens there. All you have to do is paste the address in. So, you can get Mana for Decentraland, you can get USDC coin, you can get anything. And there's no KYC. You go right into that exchange, you paste your address, you're in, you're out. And the beautiful thing about Uniswap is that when they allow liquidity providers to enter Uniswap. So the way that the coins exist on Uniswap is that when you enter in there and you want to put your coins up for liquidity, you have to put equal amounts of both on each side. So what that does is it equals out the liquidity on both pairs. So ETH, Hex, they have to go in with the equal amount of each in there.
Okay.
Value wise.
So I'm just looking up for exchanges. I'm on CoinGecko. I hope that's okay. I don't know if there's like a preferred place to pull to query the
Coin Paprika is a little better, but they're all gatekeeping Hex at this point. So, but Gecko's
bad.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up as much as they have here, because when I do the expanded view, it shows a lot. What it does though is, I think, and I'll go ahead and have full screen there, and I'll share it again so you guys can just see what I'm saying. I don't want to make it seem like I'm pulling numbers out of wherever, right, and not being transparent about what I'm looking at. I'm just trying to get a solid sense for where the volume comes from. So the volume, like you said a lot of it is on Uniswap. I'm seeing here that a lot of it also is on Hotbit, apparently. So
we can't really be sure about these centralized exchanges because a lot of them have been accused of wash trading and all that. What's so great about Uniswap is that all of the trades are fully transparent in the order book.
You can see everything.
You can see everything that's going on there, and you know that it's real people doing this trading. So I love the fact that we're on 24 different centralized exchanges, but we love Uniswap because you can't lie about the volume. Whereas, we've heard allegations of some of these maybe Chinese exchanges like XT, L-Bank. I don't want to, say for sure that they're wash trading, but they could be, and we would have no way to really verify that.
I'm not really sure exactly how CoinGecko establishes their trust score either. I'm not sure what automated systems they use to detect wash trading, but generally speaking, their stacked ranking here indicates that they think this is just them, the folks who run CoinGecko, they think there's some kind of wash trading happening. So
yeah. And so I would probably agree with their trust scores, although I don't know why they didn't give any trust score at all to Uniswap. I would probably give that one a green just because it's so transparent.
So I think
we're talking about a decentralized exchange versus centralized exchanges, and now we got to realize that there's a human being behind that pulling those levers. So I'm wondering
then why they did that. Perhaps it's because there is a, as you're mentioning, it's a fully decentralized there. So they suspended any other scores, like as far as the spread and the depth, everything else, and even the score. They haven't given it any kind of a trust score.
Of course not.
So I don't know. I think erring on the side of caution. It's like either give it full trust or just say we don't know, but definitely don't say like it merits a low trust score if you don't know. And I think based on what they're showing there, I think that's what the stacked ranking indicates. They're just showing the volume and the percentage volume. That's it.
Yeah, and I think it's a new type of exchange. We're not used to having decentralized exchanges that actually work well. And so most of what I'm guessing their trust scores are built off of is how do we rate a centralized third party that has counterparty risk. When it comes to DEXs that actually do work, most of them don't really work that well, quite frankly, but Uniswap is the one that I found that it's very, very smooth. I would think right off the bat, just by virtue of not being owned by anybody, by being totally open source, that would deserve a full trust score on my book, because you're trusting code that's been audited. And the Uniswap code's been audited too, just like the Hex code has several times. But you're basically trusting code. I mean, you're going to have to trust something no matter what. Hate to break it to you. No matter what we do, we're hoping that there's no critical bugs or anything like that. But I'd rather trust code than people. So,
yeah, I mean, that's probably true. The issue is that code is made by people.
Yep. That's the big paradox of this whole thing.
Code is not law.
On the head.
Yeah, law is law. Code is
but
code.
we are in crypto, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We've seen exit scams. We've seen people who've done all kinds of stuff that stood up to scrutiny for months and even years at a time, and then still scam and then still exit. So yeah, crypto is crazy. It gives you a very strange education, and nothing makes you more paranoid than being in crypto. It's real talk. Like, have you ever met more paranoid people than in this group?
No, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Never seen anything like it.
So
I mean,
unhealthy, paranoid.
yeah, good grief. Your co-hosts are streaming from their basements. And we're not going to tell you like what else we prep down here in these basements, right? Like, because we don't want you to come try to raid our stuff. You'll
right.
You'll wind up.
And we run around with Monero like we've got something to hide, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah. I mean, hey, it's better than jumping into liquidity on the large cap coins that you can just throw into a tumbler after you pull it from a smart contract. Again, code is code, law is law, and people are people. And there's a reason that we have law to govern both code and people. So it's weird. I've got some stuff coming up in the comments section. Some people are trying to answer questions that I asked you guys. Can we circle back just one last time? I just want to make sure
let us see if we can answer these questions a little better.
Yeah. So maybe I should just ask a better question. I've got to take that one on the chin. I probably need to ask a better question. What I'm curious to know is for people who aren't early adopters, because that's what you started with, RG. You started with people who were early adopters of Bitcoin winning big. And that's true. That's a function of history, not opinion. Everyone can see that. The people who got in really early won big. And Crypto Coffee, you made the comment, which is also objectively true, that people who got in at $30 and saw it retrace to $1 felt cheated. But if they held over the long term, that sawtooth pattern of most investments played out in their favor. Now, nobody would argue. Getting it at $30 on Bitcoin, you're a millionaire, depending on how much you bought. Like you're slaying, you are loving life. So with Hex, how does it help solve that problem? You guys opened with that problem. What does Hex do to make that better? So
if adoption is an S curve, right? And it starts off with a slow rise and then it goes through that giant peak that all cryptocurrencies tend to go through in bull markets. And eventually it kind of tapers off and evens out. In the long term, when you can see Hex going to, more stable prices of, I know it sounds crazy, but 10 cents, even $1, even maybe higher, who knows, all speculation. But when these things tend to stabilize, that's when you begin searching for yield outside of the speculation. And so the goal of any cryptocurrency is to get past that speculative phase and into that steady area where it can actually be used as a medium of account, unit of exchange, unit of account, all that stuff. And when Hex does reach that stability, you're going to have the ability to stake your coins and get ROI, again, paid in Hex. But if it does become stable like we all want it to be, that would be a reliable way to store your wealth for the long-term future. Okay, so that's what makes it attractive.
Awesome. It begs the question then, what prevents, say, for example, Brave and the basic attention token and Uphold payments from utilizing a similar smart contract in which they simply allocate a pool of a very similar token that's already got a real world use outside of speculation and an investment? What prevents them from using some other Ethereum token like basic attention token and applying a smart contract to their existing token with their existing real world objective value.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of staking tokens out there already. The only thing is Hex gives you way better returns in terms of Hex.
It's the
ROI.
interest.
It's the interest and the game theory involved and the rewards you can get. It's the speculative stickiness. The more you learn about different bonuses, about how if you stake longer, you make more. If you stake bigger, you make more. All these things keep people around to a degree where they're much happier with Hex interest than, let's say, the Tezos 6% annual APY. So when you're comparing all these things, and we might not live in a world of just one cryptocurrency to rule them all, right? You might have Brave coexisting alongside Hex, but Brave will niche down and become good at their little thing, which is, I guess, internet ad payments and stuff like that. Whereas Hex will dominate the CD virtual blockchain space.
Yeah. And the inflation rate is insane. So as soon as year one is over, our inflation rate is at 3.69.
Okay, so I didn't. You said that casually. Sorry, as far as
That's where
what
it's
is
really
it?
confusing for me too, with the increases yeah, I need to understand more about that.
Yeah,
So-
it's actually
Go ahead. Go
Again,
ahead.
It's a
Crypto.
it's a variable inflation rate. And that inflation rate could be anywhere from 3.69% all the way up to 369%. But this rate is set by the percentage of people in the ecosystem that are staking their coins. So it's a spectrum, right? If only 1% of everybody are staking their coins, that 1% is going to get 369% inflation per year. If 100% of people, meaning everybody, are all staking their tokens, then the minimum inflation rate possible is 3.69% per year. Again, this is paid out over time to all of the stakers. Now, in reality, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, right? So right now, for example, we're at a 23%
About 23.
staking percentage. And that puts us at about 15 to 16% ROI annually. But this rate changes all the time. And so it incentivizes people that believe in the project more, that are vowing to hold it by entering into that smart contract and putting their coins away and paying interest over time to those people. So it rewards the people that help the system grow by staking.
So the value it brings to the crypto world is that we've got a coin that's going to give you 3.69% returns versus the CD world and what it's returning. So imagine what kind of utility that actually gives crypto, what kind of onboarding that gives people in crypto. So if you can't spend crypto, but if you do want to hodl, if you do want to hold, why not hold it where you can earn 3.69% at worst on your crypto?
Okay,
That's what Hex brings.
That's a brilliant question. So there are interest-bearing cryptocurrency custodial programs out there that will give you those kinds of returns on Bitcoin, which is itself intended to be a unit of exchange. And so the APY is balanced against something that's meant to have intrinsic value. What is the value of Hex?
But you've got to turn your coins over to a counterparty.
Okay.
There is a way to do it with still maintaining your private keys, and I'm gonna have to brush up more on that, but there is.
Yeah, there's more than one program in which all you have to do is sign to verify ownership of a specific amount. So I'm just kind of curious. So if you guys will humor me just really fast, I'm going to bring up something that Nicole and I, NerdGrl and I, we just published. This is a great checklist, and this is not at all intended to be inflammatory. Please know this. We're not picking on anyone.
I wrote this actually like long before Hex even existed. This is something from a couple of years ago.
This is good. And we can go over these points one by one. I'd
perfect.
be happy to walk down the line. Bombastic claims, for sure. Bombastic promises are something you should be very, very scared of. If Hex promises anybody 1,000x returns, that would be the number one indication that it's probably a scam.
What I'm going to do is just to make sure that we don't astroturf the verbiage that was used. A bombastic claim could be somebody who says that your APY is likely to ever reach 300%. Without even being a promise, that's a claim.
Well, the claim is that it could, but it's very unlikely.
Bitcoin. How many X did Bitcoin do?
So hindsight
point.
being what it is, it's not a function of opinion or speculation. We know that it's done over 8,000% since it was first launched.
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's
Well
done like 2 million%.
Like
Exactly.
way over that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just doing apples to apples. We heard some other numbers brought up. I'm just without having the exact number of what it's done from day one. There have been periods in which people who we know, people who are public in the community, have experienced 8,000% returns and lived to tell the tale. Right? They haven't gone and been kidnapped or had their thumb cut off or whatever.
So my question is to you is this: when you look at all of the scams that are out there, that have been out there, that have run across people's computers, and claims were made, the claims are always the verbiage or the vernacular of the claim has always been to the legal, where we say it could do this. So what you have to realize about Hex and what Richard tried to do with all of that is to use the same tactics that scam coins have used for the last 10 years and trying to get people's money. So he said, look, if these people aren't going to learn, if they're going to continue to do this, then I'm going to use those tactics to bring people into something that is going to help them to save their money. And he says it all the time. You've got to get that money out of their hands and get it into something that they're going to have to put away, save, make interest on. And if they're ever going to make it in crypto, if crypto does do what we all want it to do and it rises, then you're going to save those people from those scams. So using those words like claims of we've taken that away from the scammers and we're using it ourselves.
So I can definitely see that this is part of the narrative of the Hex community, and I appreciate that. And I've definitely heard Richard say it many, many times. I've tuned into some of his broadcasts, and he's seen me comment, and he's declined to come on my show to talk about Sci-Vive, and I'm not sure why. But I've heard this, and so I get that there is a very. I get that Richard himself posits that there is perhaps a need to use some of the tactics that scams would use to then do good in the world. And that's okay. One of the issues, though, is that you make it very difficult for anybody to be convinced that there is a problem, right? It's far easier to fool somebody than it is to convince someone they've been fooled.
You're right. The vitriol probably has come from some of this. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll agree.
This is not me. Yeah. This is not me saying that anybody's in the wrong here. This is just me bringing up a list that we're trying to educate our audience on, so that they don't get duped by other programs and other coins that may have bad intentions.
So that they can make their own decisions based on,
and they do,
this list plus whatever else they've got.
They do, and they have. They've been getting wrecked for years on this verbiage. So they do. People do make their own decisions, and they fall for it all the time.
So what's that? So moving down the list, though, bombastic claims is just the top. And we've seen this with some projects. Generally speaking, and it's not true of every project, but generally speaking, if the top consideration is speculative and anything, even when it's mentioned as like, hey, this is not advice and it's not a legal claim per se, it's just us saying, hey, think of what could happen to the price. If that's the primary reason for being involved and it's marketed as such, that could be a red flag.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the criticisms that I've had of the whole project too, is although it does work to get the money away, as RG3 was saying, from people that would have otherwise been scammed and funnel it into an honest project. Well, first of all, a claim is not a promise, but people unfortunately misconstrue the two, and they see on the website designed to do 10,000x, and they all of a sudden think that's a promise. So I want to be very clear that it's definitely not a promise, and that anything can happen in crypto. Prices go up and down all the time. I'll be the first one to admit that.
Let me even go one more on that. Is it's not even a claim. It says it's designed to do 10,000x. That's the exact verbiage. It's designed. So if you make a crypto that you feel is better than Bitcoin, that does things better than Bitcoin, why would it not do 10,000x? We've already agreed here that Bitcoin did well over 10,000x.
Okay, just to make sure that I understand from what you both told me in your earliest responses about what Hex was not only designed to do, but what it's hard-coded to do, what the smart contract is irrevocably designed to do. The smart contract language, the irrevocable agreement, the covenant between people who join, who enter in to give their ETH and then create Hex, the thing that they're expecting to see happen, because it's hard coded in, is 10,000%. But you're saying that that's not
hard coded in.
No.
Okay.
That's not what's said.
Nowhere in the code is it designed, is it proven or promised that it will do 10,000x.
Okay.
This is just, a claim is not a problem.
Okay, so help me understand then. Is this then speculation on potential long-term gains?
Of course.
No, that could happen. It could happen in a year. It could happen. We've come on. This is crypto. It could take 10 years. It could take 5 years. We don't know how long that it would take for something to do that. We didn't know how long Bitcoin was going to take to 10,000x, but it did. So it was designed to do so. Now, Hex, the code, is designed to make more Hex. Period. End of story. You put your Hex and you stake it, you're going to get more Hex. That's the code. That's the way it works.
Okay, so and again, pardon my ignorance, you guys may have said this casually in a way that I just didn't catch. So forgive me for asking questions that may sound like they're really naive, or or like I just didn't hear well enough.
It took us months to learn Hex. Please don't
we
think
appreciate
like
you
have
for
to be
even
an
asking.
expert. Yeah,
sure, and that's just it. Like again, I've interviewed projects that were like so underground that they didn't get past their first weekend of asking for hash rate, and I've interviewed projects that have had $18 million stolen from exchange. It's right, and then just like didn't bat an eye. They were like, okay, cool, that's Monday. What's next? So and there's room for every project in between.
We want to talk to everyone. I mean, that's kind of what we like really want to do here, is talk to, anyone who's willing to talk to us. Like, want people to have the most information that they possibly can.
So what I'm curious to know about Hex and the Hex contract is, new Hex is minted as a function of the number of stakeholders versus the number of new entrants into the system?
No.
It doesn't have anything to do with new entrants. It just has to do with the proportion of people staking to people not staking. Yeah. So quote unquote liquid people.
About 511 million Hex are minted every day. That's the bucket. Is 111 million Hex. And whatever ETH comes in to the lobby that day, that ETH.
We lost him.
No. I still see him.
Probably pick it back up. So he's talking about the adoption amplifier, which is the launch phase lobby, where every day for 350 days, there are about 500 million new Hex minted every day. But that's a totally separate system than what we were just talking about, which is the ROI percent, which is a variable percentage based on how many people in the ecosystem are staking. Those two factors really don't have much to do with each other. Does that make sense?
Well, so I hear what you're trying to explain. I don't know that I fully agree in that I don't know that they can be entirely decoupled in terms of the token's value long term. So is it a fixed emission? Will it be ongoing? Is there ever a cap in sight? Is there an initial emission epoch after which it will cease to emit new tokens?
Yeah, so the value itself is only determined by people buying and selling on an exchange. So that's all that determines the price of any token. However, the new token issuance will end, with the launch phase will end on day 351. And from then on, all the new Hex that will ever be created is only created in the form of inflation that's paid to people staking.
Got it. Okay, so there is a fixed emission. So after year one, specifically after day 351, is what I'm hearing. This emission period is over. So what is it, 511 million that's normally emitted per day?
Right. So there's a ton of Hex every day being emitted during launch phase just to get it out there.
Yeah.
But after that's over, all that giant new supply that's coming in every day is totally cut off. And the only way to ever create more Hex is to stake it and get that Hex in the form of interest paid to the stakers.
Great. Thank you for explaining that clearly. That's not too difficult to understand when explained in those terms.
Someone from your community reached out to me and asked me to make sure that we had you on coffee.
Oh, that means a lot. Whoever that was.
You're in demand, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the reason that I ask about those two functions of coin growth, right, of coin emission, is that, oh my gosh, we got a ghost user. I'm going to kick out your ghost user. Yeah. There we go.
Right.
Boom.
Cool.
Get that guy out of there. There we go. Got the real one. Accept no substitutes.
Okay. Am I back?
Yes.
Back. Welcome back.
And you cut out right about after you mentioned 511 million new hex that are emitted every day.
Yeah. So those are added to the AA lobby, and I don't know if Crypto's been explaining it, but then
he did. He picked up.
Okay, good. So then you guys got that figured out then, right?
Yes, he did a phenomenal job. I don't think he said it quite as well as you would have, but he did okay.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Look, that's why he's on here, because he's the smart guy. I'm just the old man that eats shit and barks at the moon. That's what I am.
I don't believe that, man. You're the looks. You're the looks of the operation. Don't ever let him tell you otherwise.
Oh, you make an old man feel good. Thank you.
Just saying, takes one to know one, right? I'm hiding the salt in this pepper here. So
yeah, I just had all the gray shaved off. So
nice. So just trying to make sure that I understand the emission scheme well enough, and I only use that word because schema.
It's all right. We use it.
Yeah. Right. It's just what it is, right? So just an architecture plan. So making sure that I understand it, guys. I'm going to return to that question because for my part, again, I'm struggling to understand for people who are who come in past that initial coin emission epoch. Mm-hmm. So let's just say I've got a nephew who is right now just not the right age to participate in any kind of cryptocurrency transmission that could be construed by the SEC or other entities who are interested in tracking this, could be construed as an ICO or as them exchanging something of value, giving consideration in exchange for tokens. Could be that they're just legally barred from doing that. And they come of age 2 years from now. What are their prospects? They have to buy from a hex hodler of last resort or somebody like one of you two gentlemen.
Yeah. After the 350 days are over with, the AA is done. No more coins are going to be minted that way. The only coins that are going to be in existence are the stakers are going to be. So when you mint your coins, you get your hex. Now, if you want to stake them, you're going to burn those coins. So when you go into the staking area of the lobby, you're going to stake those coins and they're going to be burnt. What you're going to be given is interest. You're going to be given shares. So those shares are based on the principle of hex that you staked. So those shares are gaining price every single day after big payday. After the 351 days, those shares are going to be getting more and more expensive as time goes on. So the people who have staked those shares, they're going to become more valuable as time goes on because shares will start to dwindle and disappear and become become more and more scarce.
Okay, is there a product outside of the smart contract itself?
You mean we have dApps that are built on Hex, but that has nothing to do with really the Hex product itself. I mean, it's like anything that's built on Tron or anything
the product
like that.
Is a smart contract, and people can build on top of it if they want to. But yeah, the innovation, the product is simply a smart contract that lives on the Ethereum blockchain forever. Can't turn it off. No admin keys.
Okay.
Just sits there.
And as far as being an ICO, so nobody is promising anything. Hex is done. The switch was turned on. Now you enter your ETH into the lobby in order to get your hex that you mint yourself. So nobody does anything for you. You actually have to go into the function and mint your hex. You have to push the button to make your hex appear and exit the lobby so that you leave with your hex. So there, as far as an ICO goes, this has nothing to do with being an ICO.
But I think one of the things that you were asking.
Yeah, well, nobody's really launched an ICO as such for about 2 years now. The SEC has made sure that there have been compliance issues that have prevented anything like being termed an ICO for some time now. But even an STO, where
I wish they would have been they would have showed up in early 2017.
Yeah, right. So much pain, so much blood.
Feeling you, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's bad. And well, and then there's some that launched overseas, so they weren't within the SEC's grasp. Envion comes to mind, $100 million raise. So I don't know if you guys, I mean, there were so many of them, right? It was 10 million here, 20 million there, 100 million with those guys. They were, they just had a really big bag.
So many.
Bezos was mine.
Hey, back to your list you guys had. Did we finish that? Was I gone when you guys finished the list? Or?
I don't think so. In fact, I think
because there were a couple of things that I wanted to address on that list.
Yeah, maybe a little bit off topic. Let me go ahead and share it again. So
I just don't want to. I don't want to leave anything on the table because
I have points to make off of here too. So I'm good.
So we call this a tiered referral system, or you say that one of the things if it shows a scam is a tiered referral system or MLM. First of all, my opinion of MLMs is that they're not scams. MLMs are stretching the referral bonus programs of a product or a service to the max. So basically, you just have a bunch of middle people getting paid, pennies. Guy up at the top is getting paid more than everybody else. So an MLM, in theory, is not a scam. Is it the wisest thing to get into? Probably not.
Yeah,
but that's a tiered referral system.
Seth made that point yesterday. In fact, you've done consulting for several multi-level marketing companies, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So I live in the Intermountain West, where MLMs are. I mean, I know
exactly where you are. Then you're out where my territory is, and anyway, I won't say it.
Yeah, but we won't dox each other. Yeah, but it's big business.
Well, I was a diamond executive in a couple of MLMs and did well. So I understand the business model, and I understand that the business model is not the most desirable one, but I know that they're not scams.
Some of them are.
Let me just tell you how, and some of them are, just like some cryptos are. I mean, we have scams in every space out there, especially in spaces like ours where we're doing the things that we're doing. Crypto is very subject to scams and people trying to take people's money out of their pockets. That's this bottom line of what it is. But here's how Hex is different. Hex is not a tiered referral system. Hex is a single level referral system. You have one, just like Amazon, just like anything else out there that has a referral system. Hex gives you the ability to refer a person into, there is no multi-level in it. So just to kind of, to cross that off the list, no, it's a single level referral program.
Got it. That's awesome. Thanks for clarifying that. And again, Nicole, she got an earful from me about MLM because I've done some contract work as a consultant, right? And as a freelancer for some of these companies. For me, not working in them, but working for their leadership groups. So I've seen some of the people who devise some of the compensation plans for multi-level marketing companies. I've seen from the inside people who produce, right, and who really do well. And I've seen the number of people who generated high net worth based on some of these companies. And it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing that it can exist, right? And that it can exist in so many territories throughout the world, right? Like Japan loves MLM.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and not to get on a whole nother tangent here, but I mean, when it comes, I mean, Gucci spends billions of dollars in their marketing, right? Or millions. And, why wouldn't a company spend a lot of money on their people that are out there word of mouth, sharing their product and selling it? That's the only difference between a mainstream company that we will call legitimate and an MLM. So I don't even like that argument about MLMs being scams because yes, there are scam MLMs, but it's like saying every crypto is a scam. Like some people think,
So these are just guidance points. This is just
yeah.
Oh yeah, I still wouldn't choose to get in an MLM either, but I think it is technically legal based on the number of tiers that there are. I don't know the exact law, but
no, it has to do with how much product and
we have to move on.
Yeah, we have to move on.
Yeah. But hey, before we do, Nicole, just really quickly, I'm going to bring up something Nicole brought up as our disclaimer when we did our how to spot a scam video. She brought up our advice, which is not legal or financial, just to say like it's common sense that no one of these points, no one single point by itself should be the sole consideration of whether or not something is a scam. Even the entire list. You have to take some of this with a grain of salt, and you have to weigh all of it, depending on what matters to you and what you understand and your personal risk tolerance.
Right, because the only person who can save you from being scammed is you.
Aw, snap.
I like that.
Yeah.
So legal in the USA, of course. I mean, it's a cryptocurrency. It's legal. I guess it depends on what exchange you're getting it from. Some
I have a
exchanges.
question about this related to this. So I've seen, so it's not a security because Hex is a finished product. Is there any chance that at some point the SEC is going to reclassify it?
Well,
I don't
the
think
SEC
so.
defines securities by the Howey test.
Uh-huh.
And so Hex fails almost every leg of the Howey test. I think there's 4 legs, and Hex fails all 4, but you can maybe debate one of them.
Yeah.
But basically, it's one of the legs, the most important legs, that there shall be no expectations of profit from the work of others. So none of us in the Hex community are expecting any work to be done, and that's why we keep hammering home that it's a finished product. Because
Okay.
we are not having any expectations that there's going to be any team or roadmap or anything that's going to be done for us. We're just happy with the product the way it is. And everything that we want to build on top of it is up to the community at this point.
Yeah.
So I am not, a legal guru, but there's a couple of other legs of the Howey test as well that are also failed. And I cannot remember them off the top of my head. But
Sure.
But yeah, the Howey test is what
Okay.
defines
Yeah, no,
that.
that it's good to know that that's not a risk.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely as interpreted by 2 HEXicans, it's not a risk, and we always got to. I mean, it's always that's just
There's
it.
always a risk. Let's not say that.
Yeah.
Sure. It sounds like if it's failing the Howey test, though, like that's.
Yeah, and if you really want to know, look up the Howey test. Look at how Hex fits within that, and you'll see. And Richard has made it very clear and explained it in detail about how Hex fails the Howey test.
Yeah, what I would urge caution about is that Richard, by his own admission, is not legal counsel. I would definitely urge anybody who's curious to know whether or not Hex actually passes the Howey test to get that interpretation from legal counsel.
And I've heard legal counsel actually say that the Howey test is not the standard. That there has been, I guess, caveats to the Howey test that they've used in legal, but not in crypto. So it's other case law that they've used maybe to kind of circumvent the Howey test to call something a security. But as far as like the EOS launch, they weren't. They paid some fines for some verbiage that they used or something like that.
But they raised $4 billion, bro. They had the funds.
Exactly. So you know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't like they were shut down by the SEC. They were fined for how they fit within their guidelines.
Oh my gosh.
So,
but risk to reward. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the EOS team.
Yeah. Well, isn't that how the world works though?
Yeah.
It's all risk reward. You know, I mean, there's companies out there that function that way. They do illegal and bad things to all of us as human beings based on risk reward. It's like, well, we're going to get sued for multiple millions of dollars or billions of dollars for this, but we're going to make multiple X times more millions or billions of dollars to do this. Well, screw the people. We're going to do it anyway.
Heck yeah,
so,
man. Yeah,
you know,
the Facebooks and Googles of the world. Yeah, they're getting away with murder. We could tangent off here.
Be in this case, Seth? Do real experts endorse it?
Well, that's a great question. And I think what's difficult to know when it comes to this category of potential investment, again, this is hashtag not legal financial or business advice from us. What's difficult to know is that when you talk to legal counsel, you'll have some CPAs and some attorneys, they will turn right back at you and say, get out of my face. I will not touch crypto because they don't understand it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
it's hard to have any experts in this space. It's only a 10-year-old space, so we're
10-year-old
figuring this out as we go along. The people that I look up to the most in this space, I wouldn't say they always endorse it, but they at least are asking the right questions and are keen to learn more about it. Go ahead, RG.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and that's my high horse in crypto is that we all think so very highly of ourselves in cryptocurrency because look at our market cap. Our market cap is pitiful compared to the rest of the world and the rest of the world's economies and businesses and things out there that have real value to them. So I think that sometimes we think a little bit more of ourselves than we should. This is an experiment right now. Cryptocurrency is an experiment. And to be quite honest, in my opinion, it's failing. It's failing because there aren't products out there that have use case, that there hasn't been any promises that have been delivered, that there are so many scams and people stealing from hopeful people trying to make their fortunes or trying to get ahead, in this world where, we're losing our pensions, we're losing our 401ks, we're losing all of these things that are security. And a lot of people have turned to crypto, especially guys like me. I'm in my 50s, I've looked to it and gone, well, maybe this is my answer. Maybe this is something that's going to help me get out of what's going on in the real world, and cryptocurrency has failed to provide all of that. It's not there yet.
Yeah, I definitely hear you. I think we started the conversation with that we all wish it were further along in adoption, and we've definitely seen some strides forward and then big steps back. If I may, a couple of projects that have been delivering on their roadmapped items and that have been delivering on promises. You have the Electric Coin Company, you have the Zcash Foundation, you have Monero Research Labs, you have the Loki Network out of Australia that has managed to hybridize two security protocols, both the Onion routing at Tor and I2P. You have Zcoin that has come up with entirely new zero-knowledge proofs and is coming up with more zero-knowledge proofs. You have PivX that initially forked the Zero Coin protocol from Zcoin and successfully applied it to proof of stake. And then when they found that Zero Coin protocol was broken, removed it, and now are moving to post-sapling Zcash, Zero Cash, zero-knowledge proofs. There are so many, but I've got an insider's perspective.
But those things that you just said, they're what function do those give? We're talking about anonymity.
Yeah,
we're talking about anonymity.
So zero-knowledge proofs. Here's what they give you, and I'm gonna break something down that will absolutely make sense. Yeah. When you go to market and you want to perform a transaction at market that you just don't want Visa to know about, or your local retailer says, hey, we don't want to pay Visa 3% because we're a small mom and pop shop. What do you give them instead?
Cash.
Bitcoin doesn't work like cash.
No.
Ethereum doesn't work like cash. Hex doesn't work like cash.
None of them do. That's what I'm saying.
But Monero does, and Zcash
but it's not.
And Zcoin does, because they allow for completely zero-knowledge transactions in which chain analysis doesn't work. So Grin did that too by introducing the Mimblewimble privacy protocol, which was outlined in a white paper from a few years ago. You have Epic Cash that forked that and then maintained proof of work as what they wanted to pursue, and but then still uses Mimblewimble in a slightly different way. You have the Beam privacy network that has been able to take just the high-level concepts of a new zero-knowledge system that was being worked on by the Malaysian team that makes Zcoin and hybridize it with Mimblewimble, calling it Mimblewimble Lelantis. You've got some research. They're coming out of Israel, by the way. You guys are wicked smart. Never, ever underestimate Israelis. You guys.
Well, anyway.
Right. Just saying. Israeli. If it's an Israeli research team, bet on them. Do not bet against them. But you have a couple of these. I mean, I've just rattled off a couple of projects, but they're not the only ones.
But we're talking about anonymity coins, and what is anonymity really good for? How much steroids, how much drugs can you really buy? What is it that you want to get on the internet that you need that kind of security for?
What is it you want to get in the real world?
It's like you don't want to transact in a fiat currency at all, or like you don't want to be on the record at all, and so you can't possibly have a bank account. And Monero is practical to transact.
How many people are using that? What's the real world use case of that?
If people were transacting peer to peer, there would be a great use case for it.
But they're not.
So privacy is important. I'll agree with that. And
I'll agree privacy is important, but it's just not adopted.
Points. Yeah, exactly. You need adoption first, but Monero is only one of many privacy solutions, right? So if zero-knowledge proofs get implemented into Ethereum, then by virtue of being on the Ethereum blockchain, we would inherit some of those you've got Tornado Cash too, which is another
right, which
privacy
is
solution.
it's a great way. It's a great way to get rid of around 1,300 coins at a time if you were to flush them from a smart contract. Because the denom is about 1,000. You can do about 1,000 at a time.
Oh, good to know.
I mean, I'm sure this has been brought up before, right?
Of course.
I don't know too much about it. I haven't used it yet.
Okay. I'm just throwing it out there. It's something you may want to be aware of. Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash can flush. We'll just use that term because I think it's a good way to describe any way that you would normally take, like RG was saying, good way you would normally take a traceable currency like Ethereum that you'd have a lot of stakeholders interested in knowing where it goes and just flush it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I guess that's always a possibility.
I'm going to go ahead and share that list again, guys, just so you have it, because you wanted to get through it, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
So
Where were we at?
is it marketed to the ignorant?
Well, I don't know how.
It's marketed to everybody.
How
if you're ignorant, that's your problem.
And how do we define who's looking at something as ignorant or not? I mean, that's.
So, listen, how easy is it to acquire some hex? Can you acquire hex from a debit or credit card?
I mean, you can technically use a debit or credit card on MetaMask to purchase Ethereum, but
you have to purchase a different cryptocurrency first.
No,
you can buy directly from fiat to hex.
There's some exchanges out there. I'm not really sure which ones all have USD on ramps and off ramps, but
yeah, I mean, you got to use USD anywhere. I mean, the only real fiat on ramp is through Coinbase or going through what's the other one where you got to go to your back alleys and go get your crypto from somebody. But
cryptos,
your local cryptos.
Yeah,
but
Bitcoins.
I mean that I don't understand.
How is it marketing to the ignorant though? Are we still on the market to the ignorant?
Yeah, the question is so one thing I think is I get nervous when I see projects that are accepting, ICO money or accepting early money from people in USD or in fiat currency. Like it's easy to go from a debit or credit card, right? So, because I've seen that happen before. So
like Bitcoin.
I would say that this product is not marketed to the ignorant based on the limited knowledge that I have of it. Because for one thing, you have to at least have acquired one other cryptocurrency really in order to acquire the hex, which requires some level of understanding.
Yes, you have to onboard with ETH in order to get ERC20.
Which is great. And I appreciate that Nicole is giving that counterpoint. Let me give some counterpoint because we like to make sure that our audience has heard debate from both sides, not because it's necessarily my view, just so you have that caveat. So the way that I would argue that perhaps this seems like it is marketed to the ignorant is that you guys are saying that the AA period epoch lobby, that it has a very limited duration, which is intended to get people in fast. But then you also told me that in order to actually understand the project, like really understand, it took you how long?
We've been following it before launch, so months. And I wouldn't recommend that anyone just goes out and buys it without obviously reading what everything that's out there and available.
Yeah. But the
opportunity is a great place to start.
Yeah, the opportunity cost though of somebody learning about it, say 4 months from now, and needing to take about 2 months to learn about it, is that the period is over. The AA lobby is closed.
Well, I mean you're not going to get early adopters that don't know crypto. If you understand crypto and you go and you read the white paper.
I think you might be mistaking the fact that once the launch phase is over, that there will never be any new hex created ever again. There's still going to be a lot of liquid hex out there. Yeah. So if you wanted to buy it after the launch phase on an exchange, you can go ahead and do that. There's nothing stopping you.
There's a lot. There's going to be 600. They don't know exactly how much hex is going to be based upon how the lobby goes and everything, but there's going to be close to, I think the estimates are 650 billion.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. And there's going to be some liquid, right? Not every single person is going to be staking. So you're going to have a lot of liquid hex out there to buy from on exchanges. So the opportunity cost.
But the incentive is absolutely not to have any liquid. The incentive is to move as fast as you possibly can, whether or not you understand it, into staking.
Well, the incentive is, yes. I would say the incentive.
The design is such that you have incentive to stake as soon as
Exactly.
possible, whether or not you understand.
Well,
I would
that's-
never tell anyone to just jump into it without making an honest effort at understanding it. You should always try to understand what you're getting yourself into.
Okay.
So I will not ever
okay,
recommend that someone jumps in and doesn't even care about what it is.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Sure.
I have a handful of liquid hex too. I have my stakes and I have my liquid hex. I mean, if you're in crypto, you understand that if you can still play the market, if you have highs or lows, you can buy and sell and do all those things with it. So, I mean, it's just like diversification of anything, I mean, people can hold liquid, people can hold staked, or a little bit of both. I mean,
what is your incentive to hold liquid hex? What can you do with it?
we just had all-time highs a few months ago and we had a 56% drop.
Okay.
So if you were to sell that liquid hex back then,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You'd
you
be
want some
sitting
dry
on your-
powder for exchanges, essentially.
well, of course. I mean, not for exchanges, but yes, some dry powder.
everybody
And,
can do it differently. You don't have to keep some liquid.
I mean, that's
Take
all just
100%
people.
of it.
That's
You do it however you want to do it. No one's making you, holding a gun up to your head and saying you got to stake it all.
I'm not saying anyone's holding. Yeah, none of it's compulsory. there's just marketing.
unless
right?
you're a free claimer.
Yeah,
Then it's 90%.
Yeah, there's
Right.
lies, damned lies, and marketing. So yeah, so that's why I was curious to clarify that one point about whether it's marketed to somebody that if their incentive is to get in fast, whether or not they're ignorant.
That makes sense, actually. I hadn't considered that.
Just counterpoint, guys. Just counterpoint. That's what we do here. That's what we love about that. That's what I love about Nicole as a co-host.
And the share price is rising every day during the launch phase. So if you did get your hex last month and you're holding it liquid, you're losing percentages of the share rate every single day.
Because it's designed to incentivize you not to hold it liquid.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, let's move down the checklist because they're like way long.
Oh my gosh, it totally is. We're gonna take forever to get through this, but yeah. We respect your guys' time.
Yep.
Sure. Who's on the team?
Team.
Well, there's not really a team. I mean, Richard Hart founded it and it was developed by a few developers, but there's no future roadmap, no work other than the community. So essentially the community is the team.
So I really just have a follow-up from when I came on RG's show, Coffee. I think you were telling, maybe it was you, maybe it was Hexo, who was saying that Richard Hart just wouldn't have any motive to, liquidate his 45% tokens that would, cause all kinds of chaos within the community, within the ecosystem, right? And since then, it's come to my attention that Richard has been really vocally paranoid about COVID. He's, expressed there's videos of him with, full mask, and he's talked about his obsession with life extension and the urgent need to fund it. So the question is, for somebody who has exhibited some signs of anxiety, why is it trustworthy that that person wouldn't liquidate that to fund life extension?
So everybody can become anxious from time to time. And, we don't even know if Richard does own the origin address keys. But I mentioned this earlier.
Who controls them
right?
then? That's why it's important to understand governance from a governance perspective. And that's why, for example, if the SEC were to step in, they'd want to know when you have anybody who's public and doxed on the team, of a necessity, you have to have more people doxed and public on the team who wrote the smart contract, who actually wrote it and who actually controls the keys and who is actually the recipient of the blended, tumbled ETH that comes out of the contract.
And again,
it's not been tumbled or blended, but that's another, side point. There's nothing stopping any of these cryptocurrency founders, leaders, pick your coin. Monero, probably owned by, 10 people that own, let's say 40% or more. I saw you're into Raven coin. 40% of those tokens are owned by the top 2 addresses. And so no matter what crypto you're getting yourself into, you are getting yourself into some amount of economic centralization, no matter what.
The difference with Raven is that it launched as a proof of work token, and large mines, some of which I know personally, because they had warehouses full of GPUs, and they just made a really good speculative play early on. And so with the advanced warning, like you mentioned, of months before it launched, they just said, we're going to take a risk on this coin because it's not a token, it's a coin with a full network behind it that it has to power. and it can launch tokens like Hex on their network
Sure.
in exchange
So what if
for burning
those-
coins.
What if those lucky individuals get anxious and sell all their tokens? Well, they could probably crash the price to near zero.
Sure. But the
And
value
how
of
about the
the value of their
2000
network? The value of the network is not pure speculation. The value of the network is that it had function. So when you bring up Raven
Mining?
in particular, no. The value of the Raven
Well,
coin.
Raven coin is just one of many, many different tokens. I could pick, any ERC
You brought
20
that-
top token.
You brought
Yeah,
that
no,
one,
I-
you brought that one up because Ravencoin is not an ERC20 token. I just
Are you
wanted
talking
to
Raven?
keep the record straight. It's not an
Okay.
ERC20 token. It's actually it's its own coin network that is a fork of Bitcoin that allows you to issue tokens from the
Yeah.
wallet address
Sure.
from your QT wallet. So it's
I guess ERC20 or not, I guess my point is just that you're going to have large whales in any cryptocurrency, especially in the early days.
okay.
And over time, it becomes more distributed because naturally people will buy coins and things will move around and it'll become more economically distributed. But if you don't have people in whales with skin in the game at first that are incentivized to hold and see the project grow, you have tragedy of the commons. So nobody incentivized to give enough of a fuck about the project, and they'll dump it on the open market to zero. So that's kind of the game theory behind having economic whales in any coin, whether or not that's, I didn't mean to pick on Raven coin. We could talk about, Bitfinex token or Binance coin.
That'd be
you know,
much
all
better
these-
because they actually are tokens. Yeah, they're not an
Sure,
independent
sure. So like
cryptocurrency
Binance
network.
coin, right? 85% of Binance coin owned by, I would guess, no more than 2 or 3 individuals at the company. Who own
Let's
the
not
trust.
forget that 42% of all Bitcoin is in 2,000 wallets too.
There's that.
Yeah,
Really.
That
And
was
we-
a list.
It would be difficult to coordinate 2,000.
Well, how many did we just see on that lawsuit the other day? How many hundreds of wallets are owned by one person, or could be owned by one person? Hundreds. It was
Well,
hundreds.
you can have more than one wallet.
Earlier, I mean,
They can distribute those through many
I mean,
wallets.
it's a valid concern, but it's not a concern that's specific to Hex. It's a concern with every token, almost every token I've ever
It's
seen.
crypto.
Yeah. No. Totally.
yeah, you're right.
And
I mean, there's centralization everywhere. Yeah.
But here's the funny thing is that that point was brought up in the beginning of the project by somebody who was fudding the whole project, and all of a sudden it started spilling from the mouths of everybody in the crypto world, and they've held on to that, and they've really held on to that. And I heard you on the last show, Nicole, talk about, what does it matter where the ETH goes? What does it matter where
I
these?
stand by that. Yeah.
So
Sure.
I mean,
And I
we
stand by my
look at these.
counterpoint that it can matter only.
And I heard
because
you,
other,
too.
Other projects they stand behind an exchange or a consideration that's given in exchange for tokens, so that there can be governance. And if they're not transparent about how the project is governed, then you should not trust them. Full stop.
But therein lies your Howey test problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It doesn't pass the Howey test.
If
Well, it does if there's no
If
expectation of
there's
profit
no
from the work of
expectation.
others.
if you don't think about that, if you don't address that and expect that entity is going to do work, then it passes the Howey test.
So you actually believe that your Ethereum is worth
My Ethereum is not my Ethereum. If I trade it for anything, I have never once ever thought that when I've traded a token for another token or a coin for another coin, anything that I owned that or I needed to even know what has happened to that. When I've bought a hamburger at McDonald's, I never thought, where does that dollar go? Who does it belong to? I got my value from my dollar. That's what it boils down to.
But
we're
talking
trading-
about we're talking about something different though.
We're trading
We're talk-
baseball cards here.
We're talking about something that has value. So you're talking
No,
about
no.
the difference between getting a burger from McDonald's and buying a share in McDonald's is vast. And we're talking about something
We're
that's
not
closer to
talking
buying a
about-
share in McDonald's.
These aren't shares in a centralized company. These are just tokens on an Ethereum smart contract.
Yeah, we're talking about baseball cards here. These are baseball cards. We put value in them because
We're mixing metaphors so fast, guys. I'm actually getting a little lost. So just to draw a closer comparison, though, if the product is the smart contract,
No, that's not the product. The
but
product is you
Coffee said
having
it
the
was.
ability to mint your own coins, to mint your tokens. That's
I'm like actually getting confused. I'm
Right?
sorry. No, I'm getting
maybe
confused
I
by-
misunderstood what you said.
Yeah, I'm getting
We've
confused by.
also been on for 2 hours.
Yeah, let me bring up this
Damn,
list
really?
real fast. Nicole, can you bring us home with these questions?
Yes. Okay. So any of the founder claims proven false. Should we just
Trying to
move
think.
on?
I'm trying to think what claims that would be in this situation. I don't.
I've never heard any claims.
Founder claims.
This
Yeah.
would be something like along the lines of character examination.
Yeah. So a lot of people have tried to defame Richard Hart with character attacks and all that. And yeah, maybe he's snapped at people because he's getting hated on constantly. But
Sorry, guys.
Just to try to-
quick question: is my screen being shared yet or no?
I can
yeah, we
see
can
it.
skip the checklist.
You're
So
seeing
yeah,
it?
but
Okay.
is there a functioning product?
Yes.
You want to go to that one?
It's almost we're there. Is there a functioning product?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So and then so checking the GitHub for activity. How was that? How
The
was that?
contract's there. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's not going to be any new GitHub activity. All of the contracts has already been built and coded and
Yeah.
put up. So
You could
Yeah.
read it.
you can read all the previous work
And
that
then you can check to see if
Oh
it's
my
not
gosh.
if the smart
Yeah, sorry,
contract
guys.
is there.
Brave is like glitching out. Everybody who's watching the live stream is like, Seth, what's wrong with your computer? We can
There
still
are
see you and hear you.
people watching.
No, there's not. I'm trying to make myself feel good.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and then checking if it's a token, is the smart contract fair?
well, we think it's fair. Fair is going to be subjective, but we think it's fair, and that's why we decided to obviously own Hex. But if you don't think the smart contract is fair, by no means do you have to get involved in it.
Sure.
We think it's very, very fair.
Cool. All right,
So-
Seth, do you have anything to?
No,
Did we need to clear something up there? I thought we might have got confused there with our last statement. You said that we were throwing a lot of things around.
Well, we just had a couple of different metaphors that were used to try to draw a comparison between the consideration that is given to Richard Hart's team and what would be consideration given to any other team that produces a product, a company, or a service that you give money to in exchange for whatever it is they're offering.
Yeah.
So-
And I guess, does it matter when a contract is actually completed and the code is done and you can read it and look at it yourself? Does it matter at that point who wrote it or how?
I think it probably does matter who created the idea. And so look at Richard Hart's history. He's a serial entrepreneur that's had success in a lot of his past endeavors.
His history according to what?
According to himself.
Okay.
And proof online that we've found if you want to dig hard enough.
Yeah.
Then why is it obfuscated? Why is it not open?
What's that?
Well, you don't want to dox anybody for just no reason. It's all, if you guys want to, Richard Hart will explain in his videos if you want to learn about him as a person, but
Okay.
The character of Richard Hart, I mean, that seems to be the number one problem that a lot of people have with this token is, I just don't like Richard Hart's attitude. Listen, I get that he can be a little abrasive, but I find it very funny. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, nobody's arguing that. In fact, Nicole was on the live stream with me. I actually argued in favor of just not liking somebody is not a good enough reason to call something a scam.
Right.
I'm just asking for clarity's sake, just to make sure I understand. Richard Hart is the only face of the team, right?
Well, no. We actually had on my show, on the Discord Syndicate, we had Dev Kyle, one of the devs that worked on the project. Also, and I don't remember his name. There was another dev that was out there on another Kieran, that was out there talking about Hex and the project and whatnot. So there are devs faces out there. Yes. And
I think he was interviewed by Naomi Brockwell, who Richard
exactly
insulted pretty rapid fire.
Yeah, after she brought him on in the last 5 minutes after letting the dev, have his way with the project and Richard and everybody else for an hour.
He stayed on for almost 30 minutes. He definitely
He tried.
5 minutes. Yeah. So that's just interesting. So, pardon my ignorance. That wasn't very public in the beginning as far as crafting the smart contract, deciding how the value would be distributed, and then creating something that people normally expect from a cryptocurrency or any open source development team, which As I understand it, Hex was developed closed source initially, but then deployed as a smart contract. Do you guys know anything
Well,
about
the project did take some. It did have some changes. It started out as something completely different than what it is today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it morphed. There were a lot of things that happened, like Uniswap, really kind of changed the whole game for Hex, to be honest.
Right.
So there were a lot of
private,
things
though.
that kind of happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and none of this stuff was happening in secret. It's just that not a lot of people cared at the time. I mean, the Telegram chat before, where all this stuff was talked about before the launch was only less than 1,000 people. So
yeah, and then there was a whole dev chat where there were devs in there talking about the project on a daily basis regularly. So they had everything kind of open on Telegram when they were building it.
It's interesting. I was a member of that Telegram chat before Hex launched. So if you're talking about the Strape Telegram chat, no, it wasn't under 1,000 people.
Strape's different.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Strape is kind of like Richard's kind of
social
baby kind of thing. Yeah,
got it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understand.
That chat can get kind of crazy. I'm a little surprised that you were hanging out on there.
Hey, it pays to have eyes in all sides of crypto. Right. So, yeah, guys, thanks for. We know we got to let you go. Thanks so much for answering so many questions about this.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We're not trying to make any kind of a determination for our audience as to what they should or shouldn't do. We don't give advice.
Never. Nope.
But we do try to provide better questions. And
so,
hey,
would you mind us shilling our shows then while we're here with you?
Oh yeah, we should definitely look at shows.
So Crypto Coffee and myself, we both have our own shows, and Crypto Coffee participates in my show, and I'll let him explain his. But mine is the Discourse Syndicate, where look, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I want to give a voice to everybody in crypto. And what I do is I have a show that allows all of the people in Hex and people like Nicole, people who are interested in finding out about Hex, to get on. We talk about these things, we hash them out. And that's what we do on my show. So that's a Discourse Syndicate on YouTube. And then Crypto Coffee has his own, and he's the smart guy. He really understands Hex. He knows the contract in and out, and he's the guy to go to when you want to watch something intelligent on Hex.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't say agree, but yeah, Crypto Coffee on YouTube, and just check me out. I just like to talk about ideas.
Awesome. Definitely appreciate us both taking the time, the extra time to answer every question.
Used to this, man. We watch Richard's streams, so I mean that guy live streams for 8 hours at a time.
Yeah, you gotta wonder how that's possible. All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks, Nicole. It's good talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So awesome. Let's we're gonna let our guests exit the chat real fast.
Okay.
Let's see you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh my gosh, and my screen is it's not returning. So you guys, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm still streaming though. All right, so Nicole, I guess that's a show, right? Guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning into another episode of Mind Your Biz Mondays. We bring on interesting guests. If you can think of a project that we should have on to ask difficult questions and to get down to the bottom of what their project is all about, then go ahead and refer them to us on Twitter. It looks like Nicole is disconnected. I'm just going to sign off. Guys, love your face. See you in the next one.